Wow, 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 wow. So one day I woke up and I needed to go to the PTA event, which is just to honor the teachers. So I took a shower, got in my car, and our catalytic converter had been stolen out of our truck. And this is before 7 a.m. or probably right at 7 a.m. And I drove up to my husband's to our garage, and my husband was asking me where I parked. It was really just him asking questions so that he could blame me for maybe the fact that it was stolen. He constantly does that. But it's easier for him to do that so that maybe he doesn't have to work on it, or he doesn't have to take responsibility for this or for that. But he doesn't know that he doesn't have to take responsibility for something somebody else did. He doesn't have to also assign responsibility to someone else for something someone else did. The catalytic converter had been stolen. I needed to go. I was already running late. I got to the event at the school, stayed there maybe for about to about I think I want to say about 1 we finished, but I literally stayed there because my kids, no, so it had to be around 12 because my kids get out after 2. So I picked them up, and after that, that's when I decided to drive to his job and exchange keys. And but I had him blocked from 7 o'clock that morning because I didn't have the opportunity to be shouted at. That's his MO, to shout at you. It's so dirty up there with that. To not you or anyone else. It's specifically me, and I'll sit there as I'm being. Why did you do this? Why? It's blame. It's shouting. It's how I contributed to something that I wasn't even aware of, or he never came to me and said, "Hey, we really need to start doing this. And if you do this, then this would be you cooperating with me, or just the more knowledge that I have concerning this particular thing." It's really just berating, and I just sit there and like, wow, I didn't know, or why wouldn't you just come to me? But a lot of times he'll throw up his arms when I say, "Hey, why couldn't you just come to me and let me know that, hey, this isn't supposed to be this way, this is going to be." I don't fall for that anymore. But at that time I did. So I had blocked him, and he had actually been blocked the night before because the leasing office had called. The leasing office had called and said, "Hey, we only have $1,000. We need the remaining amount. Do you have a date when you're going to submit that remainder?" I said, "Oh, okay." We've been living in these townhomes for about 9 years, and that's one of the things I know that has never been a topic of discussion of him forgetting to pay. It's always he either just chose not to, or he didn't have the money. It's always been that for 9 years, and so I just have his mode of operation to base off of. And so I told the leasing office that he obviously is looking around on how to get the remainder. And so once he has that date, I'm pretty sure he's going to pay it as soon as he's able. They're like, "Okay, but if we could just get a date, that would be great so that we can work with you guys." And so I said, "Okay," got off the phone with them, texted him what they said. Hey, if they could just get a date, then they would like to work with us. He called and he was just like, "What are they talking about? Why would they even say that?" He was just like, "You see, you caused so much confusion," and that was unnecessary. For him to assign me any blame and me just relaying to him what the leasing office said to me, I just felt bad for him to not for his mind to take him that way, for him to be victim of his wayward mind like that. You didn't even have to respond that way. You didn't have to think that way, and for him to not catch it. So there's a proverb that says, if you give wisdom to a fool, they'll mock you. So I don't even know if, sometimes explaining things to people is not worth it. And I don't feel like in that particular situation it would have been easier because it was already, I was saying this, like, how would I don't set the price. I don't know what his problem was. It's just he's suffering uh he's suffering. And so anyway, after that day, I picked up my children and I went to his office, and yes, he was still blocked. That I have to share with you because I control that. I did that. I blocked him just because I wasn't trying to. It does put me in a sullen state to hear him holler and scream and call names and just assign me as responsible for things that I'm not responsible for. So it would have been difficult for me to be at the teacher appreciation event fully and 100% paying attention. So after I picked them up, I drove to his office, and when I got there, I parked, and my kids, they actually went inside the building and opened up the double doors and started going up the stairs way before I did. Turns out when they got up to the stairs, they paused, and so they were all just walking like all of the stairs, and so for them to pause, and I'm behind them, I didn't have the pace, I didn't have the pep in my step. I was very joyful during the teacher appreciation day, but just because I'm at his job, I'm not as enthusiastic, only because I know that I blocked him, and I know that when I get in the way of him giving me his fire, I still can receive like a fire breathing dragon. So I got up there on that first row of steps, but then you turn and you have to go up the second steps, and he's leaning on the rail at the top of those steps, that staircase. I don't know why you here. Why did you block me? I've been trying to call you all day. Blah, blah, blah. And I've thought once, but not twice, that maybe if I had blocked him, he would have been able to diffuse. It has been proven that he has enough rage to give me until he decides he's tired. Not until I've deserved enough. I don't know why this is his choice or his method, but it is. So I still kept going. Yes, I did. I still kept going. I just held out my keys and said, "Here are the keys." And he was just like, "I'm not switching with you. I'm not switching with you. You're going, and I will make sure I don't fix that catalytic converter. You would drive that until forever." And I'm like, "Whatever, dude. You're not over." He actually, you know what's so funny? He constantly accuses me of behaving like I'm God. And a lot of things that he accuses me of is literally how he behaves toward me. It's wow. It's wow. And it's the fact that I have the ability to feel sorry for him that allows me to give birth to some sanity within these episodes that he has. So he didn't want to switch keys. I started going back down the stairs. That literally took 5 seconds. I extended my keys. He said, "He not switching. I'm not switching with you. You had me blocked. I'm gonna make sure you da-da-da-da. Make sure you never, I never fixed that catalytic converter. You're gonna drive that forever. You and the kids. You know what, kids? Let's go." So by the time I made it to like the middle of the second of the staircase, he was saying that he was calling their names. He was like wrangling them up. Now, yeah, the kids like to be with me, but also they get over on me more often. 100% of the time, no. Way more less than before, because I've been able to decipher in them that they detect my leniency and then they act accordingly. And so because of that, I give the one or the two option that you heard me or you didn't, and then they'll get punished. It's me taking away tablet or anything, or just saying you need to sit out. And I do that once or twice. One, they probably didn't really hear me, and then two, just because I just got to put my foot down. It's less exhausting for me. So I make it down to the bottom of the entire staircase. He's still calling me names. And then he begins to talk as though I'm not there, which is, oh, your mom think that she is gone. So he just continues, and then I make it from the bottom of the staircase to the exit door. Yeah, there are double doors, not double doors. I'm saying that there's a set of doors, and then there's a little carpeted area, and then there's another set of doors that actually allow you to get into the building. So it's the same going out. There's the doors that you exit the actual building, and then there's some carpeted area, and then there's another set of doors to where you're actually outside of the building. So I make it out of that second set of doors, and he starts to call me. No, he doesn't call me stupid. He says he doesn't call me stupid. He didn't say you are stupid. He says I'm acting stupid. And then he has another man with him, and then I slap him. I look at myself and I'm like, what, girl, how you gonna stop it? Wow, you never did that in the house. So I was acting different now that I was out, because I was amazed that I even did that. And I wasn't too amazed, just because that's how I feel. I want to respond, but I'm going to suffer it. So he punches me in the left arm. This is my left. He punches me in my left arm, and then he throws me to the ground. So he throws me to the ground, and I step back up, and there's a man in front of me. I'm like, anyway, so, but his hands are outstretched. And so since he's stretching his hands out and looking me dead in my eye, I stood and pick up then. I was just like, what? I just went around the tip of his fingers that are outstretched, and I try to go for my kids. I look at my kids, and one of them runs into the street. One runs behind the truck. I always ask my boy twin, don't do that. You get out of the car and he'll run behind the truck. And I'm like, why? Turns out this man is blocking me, like intentionally. And that's when after that, I realized, oh, he's with my husband. And I'm like, what? This is an ambush. But why, though? Did my husband plan to take the kids? And if he does, we live together. Like, what you gonna do? So take them. I came to exchange the keys. What? Because earlier, I don't know if I'm skipping a part, but why would I go over there just assuming that he was gonna switch the keys? I believe that's what he said. Oh yes, that's what he said at the garage. But he said it and I was driving. Oh, and I told him I didn't have the time. Yeah. So that's what he said at the garage at 7 in that morning. I continued the block. I continued the block by not unblocking him after that. So there's instruction, let's change the cars. I said, I yelled back I couldn't because I'm already late. He was like, well, I don't know what to do. And then then that's when I was able to drive off. And then 7 o'clock went to the teacher's appreciation. So here we are to where he just threw me to the ground. I'm getting up. I go around this guy. Turns out this guy starts crouching over to the left to keep me away. And I'm like, dude, if I'm the biological mother, yes, I have authority. So I don't know what he was doing. So I was like, it's chaos. I need to just get back in my truck. When I get back to my truck, my son behind the truck gets in. My oldest son, who went toward the street, just stopped there and was like, I don't know. So now he's I see him, and he's across the parking lot. I don't know how he was going to get in there. But then I hear, oh boy, let's go. And that man takes my husband, and he drives my husband's car, and they drive away. And I'm like, what? So I call the police. All my kids get in the car, in my truck. The police come, and I tell them what happened, and the police say, and this is the point of the video, we 14 minutes in, the police say, well, the fact that you slapped him, we're not going to write that down, and we're going to, if I was in that kind of situation, I wouldn't be able to go to do my job every day. You need to give us an address where you're going to go, because we're not going to, we need you to not go back to your home, because there's a high chance that this thing is going to go into part 2. I said, okay. I call a girlfriend. I call her. She says, yeah, you can come over to my house. And then the police were asking, can I sleep over there with my kids? And I said, okay. So I asked my girlfriend, hey, can I stay over there? And she was like, yeah, girl, come over here. I'm asking my husband, but he should be okay with it. Do you need to know right now? And then the police got on the phone, and they asked her what her address was, and so they needed to write it down where they had sent me to go for the night. So that was earlier this year. It's now September, and I applied for a job, and the job is a sheriff, and they said it looks as though you called out 2 police officers to your home, and then again for another incident that happened outside the home, but you didn't do anything about it. I was like, well, I called the police, and they're like, well, yeah, we see that. We just said that you called the police, but you never like pressed charges or anything. I said, is that different? They said, yes. You calling the police is not you pressing charges. So I said, okay, I did not know that. They said, well, we need to know that you follow things up. You trying to be a sheriff or work with us. So I said, okay. So got off the phone. It was Friday. I called and I tried to get the 2 police reports that I had, and turns out they don't have any offense, but they have incident reports, but there's no offense listed on the incident reports. So I'll do a separate video, and I'll be repeating information so that it's concise and succinct information just to share. So you see that video, then just know that I'm repeating information. Just because I called the police out to these events doesn't mean that it's pressing charges. I would need to go file charges. I would need to go into the police station and say, this is what happened, and I would like to press charges against this other person. But because the officer was called out, the officer then notated in his report that we assessed the situation. We then, the solution was that she was going to go to a friend's home, and that was it. And that's called an MIR, to where there was notes taken, but there was no offense on it. So because of that, I don't get to get family violence investigator on my case to where they take up the case. They investigate. They find out what's true, what's not true, what happened. They'll do some interviews, they'll do some investigation. They'll look for police videos that happen as at the start of the conversation when the police are there, not at the time the event is, if they don't have access to that. So I called the police station and I asked, may I get that those reports? Turns out they're MIRs, which means there's no offense on anything that I've called the police on this year. And I'm not sure why. So one of them, I got the badge number and I got the last name, and I asked the lady on the phone, may I leave a message for them to call me back? They called me back. The police officer called me back today, and he said, based off of what you told me that day, that was not an offense. And I was just like, really? You said per this conversation that I told you that he punched me and threw me to the ground, and that I slapped him, and they're saying, yeah, but you're the aggressor. So because of that, we said that there's no offense. I'm like, nah, honey, I didn't just come out of nowhere. I've never done that. I ain't never gonna do that. So, or I don't plan on it. That's crazy. I don't plan on, I just never, that's all I have, is that how I've behaved in the past. I've never just out of nowhere just slapped somebody. I've out of nowhere done some other stuff, but it hasn't been anything physical of this nature. And so I wanted you to know that there was a part to that beforehand, which is what I know for a fact that I shared with you. There's no way I started saying what I did. I'm sure as a woman, that's how we talk. We start from the beginning. So that's where you started hearing, is what you wrote. He wrote in his notes. He was like, well, you can just file a complaint. I don't want a complaint filed. I want you to write everything that I said happened to be written on there. And he was just like, well, that's all we have, and that's all I can do. If you have anything, you need to just file a complaint, or request the video. And I was like, okay, I'll request the video. How do I do that? He's like, you need to go downtown. The fact to have that happen, and then turns out not just this event, but another event where I called the police, that's also an MIR. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in heaven. So God is loving of all, but God created all, but he loves those of his righteous. And I'm trying to figure out, it's not what I'm doing wrong, because I understand, just like Joseph, Not just him being thrown in the ditch, but then also him then being sold. And then Joseph also was imprisoned. And then also while he was imprisoned, he blessed the baker and the cupbearer by telling them their interpretation of their own dreams. Both of those things happened. But he did request, hey, can you remember me? A year later, after the death of the cupbearer, but then the baker was then got to his ears that the king had a dream. He was like, I know who do that. And he was like, a year ago, Joseph was able to interpret my dream. So it wasn't some going on in heaven against him to where he will be forgotten. But not that I'm worthy of anything, but I do know that I feel like that right now. This physical abuse and harassment has been going on for years, and you're telling me I can call the police and still talk to a police officer, and he's just like, and yes, he's standing on the fact that he should have arrested me. Just because somebody talking bad to you, and they pursue you, and they have someone come to separate you from your children, no, you cannot hit. Cool, I learned my lesson. Fine. I need help in this time to hold on, because there's another offense where my husband punched me while I was sleeping, and that happened twice, one in February, one in January, and I called the police. But why are those police reports also MIRs? They don't have where a police offense happened. I'm just in awe. I'm in awe. I'm in awe. Okay. No matter what, in my heart I need to forgive, because this would make me, I'm in awe that it's so hard to punish someone that's trying to punish you for some reason. I can continue to be silent here, but I do have a plan to continue to pursue legal help, and it's hard. I'm doing my best not to be sorrowful, but when I look at him, I'm like, wow, I feel like he's protected. I'm in awe. But the best thing I can do for myself is to forgive him and to say, I can't wait to see what God's going to do. Because Joseph still helped his, they didn't kidnap him, his abusers. I got to get there in my heart as soon as possible. Wow. I don't think that is what I need to be in awe of. The fact that I can call the police, he still gets to roam the earth. And even when I call, they like, we don't see nothing. That's not what I need to be in awe of. I need to be in awe of how quickly forgiving I can be, just like Joseph, just like Job. God gonna help me to do it.